That was my number one
Yeah.
criteria. And I figured, well, I could go north or I could go west. And this, I had family in the Northeast, and it felt far away, but not too far away, right? So I looked at Dartmouth and Amherst and Williams, and I went and checked out all three, and I applied early to Dartmouth. It owns its own ski mountain, and I
Oh, I
got
didn't
in
even
and I
know
went,
that.
and yeah, and it was honestly, it wasn't quite that simple, but it was mostly that simple. I had grown up in the marsh, and I wanted to spend time in the mountains, and that was about the whole calculus. Um, so yeah, it also happened to have a very strong, science departments. At the time I thought I wanted to be a chemist. Um, there were some great chemistry professors that I thought I'd work with there. As it turns out, I took exactly one chemistry class and then changed focus.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but what actually sold me on Dartmouth more than the other two schools, which would have been fine, I'm sure, but made me sure of my decision. I went on, what do they call it, as a pre-frost trip or whatever, right? Before you get in, when you're checking it out, I went and spent a couple nights on campus, and I went to a slideshow put on by a few of the undergrads who had organized a summer trip for themselves, driving cross country and rock climbing out west. Now, at the time, I had
Right.
never rock climbed before. I went on to have that as a really major hobby of mine
Cool.
through like my 30s, but I didn't get into it until much later. I didn't even climb at Dartmouth. But these kids, they were 19, 20 years old, and they had planned and executed this entire rock climbing road trip. It was like, it was Jack Kerouac, but, instead of on the road, on the rocks. And I was so taken by sort of the can-do attitude, by the growth mindset, by the fearlessness of these kids to go out and do something like that. It's like, these are the kinds of people I want to surround myself with. And again, I didn't start climbing until I was in my late 20s, or mid 20s at any rate. But that was a really seminal experience, just seeing like, hey, if you're kind of fearless, if you believe you can do something, the whole world's out there for you.